We are live. Hi everyone, I'm here with Alister. We are going to talk about his madness.
Eh, Listen, it's madness to a point.
Yeah, yeah.
We're, the title of this recording for yourself is A Whale of a Tale. I have got a whale of a tale to tell my friends. And it stems back from the last video that we did when we were together, and we were talking about low order dice, high veterancy.
Yep.
And this is the outcome of that tournament that I've been to, where it was called Northern Lights. It was 1,250 points. The only limitation was that you had to have a minimum spend on your core infantry platoon of, I think it was 425 or 465 points. Other than that, the sky was the limit. The only other little provision that some players had to think about was that the game time limit was 2 hours. And I know that scared, well, it scared Bo when I told him in the last video.
A little bit.
And I'm sure it got some some reactions from the viewers, but it was something that was advertised way in advance. And so players had to tailor their lists or their gameplay styles to meet the criteria of 2 hours.
Yep.
And taking all that into account, I went down the path of 9 order dice for 1,250 points. I would encourage you to look back in time on Bo's channel to watch that video. But the brief overview was 9 order dice. There were veteran lieutenant with a friend. There were 3 units of veteran rangers. I think they were 7 men each, 6 rifles, 1 BAR. There was a regular bazooka team. There was a veteran medic, and then there were 3 veteran Shermans, and they were the good Shermans. I'd spent all the funds to get rid of easily catches fire, all those other bits. So yeah, that was the 9 order dice, and in an attempt to not break a meta, but to
do something different.
And it's this voyage of discovery that I've been on, and that you've been kind enough to let me use your channel to share with the Bolt Action community. So let's get to the reality of the whale of a tale to tell my friends. And how did the 9 order dice at 1,250 points go? Let's proceed.
You went to Northern Lights, and the first game is Demolition.
So Northern Lights attracted, there were 28 players. So a good pool for a 1-day, 3-game tournament. And the best and brightest of Scottish talent was in play. So good crowd, good atmosphere, great event. But game 1, Demolition, table quarters deployment, prepared positions. So it was at this moment when I got to the table, and my opponent was a very good player named Andrew Douglas Moore. We had never played each other, but we were very much aware of each other. We've communicated on lots of different topics over time. The first thing I had to do at this table was decide in myself, am I here to play?
Yeah.
Demolition has got a draw written all over it, and I will not lie that my first instinct was to just take the draw. Park the 3 Shermans around the objective, and even if they got destroyed, there would be not enough gaps to get infantry through, and take the draw. But then I remembered that I'd recorded that video with you, and also reminded myself that I was here to play. And so I looked down at the table, looked at my opponent's list, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to play this to win. And so what I did was, well, I guess what I did really depends on my opponent's list.
Which is where maybe we should show his list, shouldn't we?
Let's switch screens to see what was on the other side of the table.
So this should be his list, right? 14 order dice, German rifles.
Yes. Right. So Mr. Moore had brought 14 order dice, Germany, 1,250 points, or 1,246. So he's got the platoon commander, 2 friends, veteran. Then his core were the Heer Grenadiers. What have we got? It's 6. So 8-man units, LMGs, 2 Panzerfausts, worth noting there. Then the Kradschützen squad, so quite a fat unit. There's 8 men there, regular, mounted on motorcycles, light machine gun and submachine gun. Then there's one of those really good punch units that you like. It's veteran
Love this
grenadier
one.
squad.
Love this one.
Really
10-man
good.
veteran. Wow.
Yep, and they're packing 5 assault rifles as well.
Yeah.
Then there's the regular half-track with medium machine gun. And then proceeding into the armoured platoon that he had. Sorry, there's another half-track there. Platoon 2, sorry. We're into the armour platoon.
Yeah, we are.
So it's a recce half-track with the light autocannon.
Yeah.
Yep, good vehicle. Then there's another. Then there's the light armoured car, the 222. Then there's another light armoured car, 222. And then there's the motorbike with MMG. So already there, before we'll cruise into the heavy platoon. We'll just pick that off just now. So regular platoon commander, 2 medium mortars. Sorry, heavy mortar, medium mortar with a spotter.
Yeah.
So you can, I could see already that the armor platoon is very. I'm going to use the term. It's on meta.
Yeah.
It's got
very much so.
It's got 2 wheeled recce light autocannons, and then it's got 2 half-track recce light autocannons. Then
Perfect.
Exactly. It's the on meta list. Got some good backline holder infantry units with the light machine guns and Panzerfausts for if anything gets close.
And one good push unit here.
One good push unit, and I'll talk a little bit more about the Kradschützen when we talk about the mission, and we're going to talk about the mission now. So the table was balanced. It was a North African themed table, which I did not get pictures of the tables. I was far too involved in the game, so apologies for that. But it was a balanced table. There were buildings in all quarters. There were no roads. There was some adequate dense terrain, soft cover, little forests. There was walls. It was perfect. So because we had prepared positions, I decided to deploy everything except 1 unit of Rangers went on outflank. And as we all know, with outflank, you've got the option of bringing it on your own table edge or from whatever flank you desire. Obviously, I picked the flank that was closest to the objective because why wouldn't you? Andrew did the same. He deployed everything except for the veteran grenadier squad, his big push unit. He put them on outflank. Obviously, we knew what side he was going to come on, the one closest to my objective. One of the core benefits of this list was that every order dice, you had to make a good choice.
Yeah.
And I found that already I had the confidence that up against the light autocannons, he was going to have to push for the side armor to get something. So if we do the maths, light autocannon is +2. You would get a +1 for the side, and you get a +1 for point blank. So that's +4. So he needs a 5+ to glance or a 6+ to penetrate on the side. And no shots on the front armor were going to get pins because he couldn't penetrate, and I'm veteran. So front armor, impregnable. It is to light autocannons. So what it meant as well, though, for deployment, the Rangers were key. Now, the bulk of your listeners, viewers, are au fait with what Rangers do, and the Rangers lead the way special rule. I had never played Rangers before, and if people look back to the last video, I put this list together with threads of knowledge from different units, using veteran German tanks or, other veteran infantry. But the Rangers, being able to deploy them effectively in the open, and then knowing where that 12-inch run move or 6-inch run move, if it's through cover, was going to get you. So it's like it was literally deploy in the open, fully exposed, but you already know that you're going to be closer or you're going to get cover. And so I was able to do that with the Rangers right at the start. And in a mission like this, where movement towards the target is key, I'm already one step ahead of my opponent. Not just being closer to the objective, I'm starting to push them back almost instantly.
Yeah.
And so the game proceeded thusly. 3 Shermans made an armoured spearhead straight forward, chasing after the Rangers as they just ploughed forward. I had a regular bazooka team. He sat behind the Shermans as a gatekeeper, because as the armoured cars started to come to the side, let them take their shot, whip out the bazooka, and try and get them. Now, did the bazooka kill them? No, it didn't. But it did chase them away, and it offered a level of protection. Now, the Kradschützen squad, I said I would make mention of them. I managed to get 2 rounds of shooting at them from one Ranger unit before they disappeared around a flank and they were gone out of sight. That was the first time I realised one of the deficiencies of the low order dice army. There's not enough coverage.
Yeah.
You can be outmaneuvered. There's no coverage of every laneway. My demolition objective had nothing on it. I was 18 inches away from it, from everything.
So you were completely exposed.
Completely committed to the attack.
Oh.
And so through the table quarter, pushed through, and I would have to say both myself and my opponent shared a lot of luck and unluck with dice. And I thought of you when it was a single dice roll and it would fail, because I know that upsets you a lot.
Yeah.
But the single dice rolls that failed for me 4 times was the penetration roll, side armor on a light armored car, when only a 1 would fail, because it's +1 on the side, +1 for point blank, and then +5 for the gun. And also, being veteran and gyro stabilized, when you're on the move, hitting on 2s. Only 1s were failing. But again, Andrew got a little bit of unluck as well with these autocannon shots. He did get some side shots to make some impact, but I think it's safe to say the result, it was a victory. Victory came on turn 5, and by turn 5 I had pushed straight through his lines and I was able to get 2 infantry units within range of the objective. Andrew came on with his outflankers. He had to commit at that point to bring them to the demolition objective. I then brought my outflankers on from my board edge, from my reserve, to create a screen in front of my objective. So that stopped
instead of actually using them like an offensive unit, you use them as a defense.
They were both going to be either offense or defense, depending on how the game played. And I got 2 units onto his objective on turn 5. And so I was able to use that as a screen to protect mine. Now, at this point, his Kradschützen squad, who had been unmolested for at least 3.5 turns, had 1 pin on them. And I had options to fire at them, but I elected not to do that, simply because if I had fired, they've got recce, then they would get the free move, and I had eyeballed that they could snake into range of the objective. So I elected not to shoot. They did test and they passed, and so they made it in range on turn 5. So at the end of turn 5, we played the lottery. I had 2 tickets to the lottery and Andrew had 1. Andrew lost. He rolled a 2, I rolled a 4 and a 5. It's immaterial. So the game ended on turn 5 as a victory for the veteran Shermans and the tanks.
So that put you in top 50%?
I am not sure how it played out, but we all know that Demolition generates draws. So there was only a handful of tables that actually had winners and losers. I'm not entirely sure of how many it was, but when we talk about the overall results at the end, there's a lot of takeaways from that first game, and I'll bring them up just because it's important that it's not just my list that's being talked about here, it's what the opposition lists are. But Andrew Douglas Moore was an exceptionally good player and had a very on-meta list for Germany at the time, and he'd made a few concessions to lower his order dice. the inclusion of that big veteran squad at full strength 10 man.
Yeah.
4 Panzerfausts, that's 60 points, which and the mortars, he used them in the classic sense that he made a little fortress, and he would draw 1 dice, snap to action, and then drop the mortars. So, but we'll talk about some of the takeaways of that later.
Yeah,
because that brought us to game 2,
where you were playing against. Let me just bring up a list here.
Yes.
So that would be Johnny Ferg, wasn't it?
Yes. So Johnny Ferg and I have got some sort of hot date in round 2 of local tournaments, and so this was a long table edge, and it was what's it? The one with the
key
objectives?
positions.
Key positions, and it's all first wave.
Yeah,
it was all first wave and reserves. So Johnny had made some concessions as well, knowing the time limitations, and he's on his own little experimental drive as well. So you can see low order dice 10. So
very low.
Yeah, very low for Germany. So platoon commander though, inexperienced. Then he's got grenadier squad, and how many is that? 4, 5, 6,
extra
7,
dudes. Yeah,
8,
that's 8-man unit. Yeah.
Yep. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. He's got the submachine guns. He's got the LMG. Then he's repeated that again. It's got it's got 2 light machine guns, so it's very much more backline. Then he's picked up
Waffen SS.
Waffen SS. So they've got fanatics.
Wow.
Yeah.
180 points. Wow.
Yeah. But again, they're very mixed bag units in terms of
yeah, they are
assault rifles, Panzerfaust, etc. But Johnny's a big proponent of the company commander, so he's got one, inexperienced. He's skilled at the artillery observer, so he's decided to take one for Germany. He controversially took a sniper. And then King Tiger 2 at regular.
Wow.
And a Kubelwagen, MMG Kubelwagen.
Wow.
So Johnny leaned into the fact that, Armor 11 is going to be hard to kill. He's got the platoon commander to make sure it can move. And he's got the mega gun on it, the super heavy anti-tank gun. But key positions. So again, it was actually quite a dense table in terms of terrain. There were roads, but they were blocked in the center. There were tank traps, there were walls, there were every sort of imaginable thing. Big ruin in the middle, there was bunkers. It was busy. High density table. You would have enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, high density table. But the objectives were spread evenly. Nobody was playing the gamble of winning table edges. And I had no forward deployment. He did. He put his forward deployers on. And then I got to lead the way with the Ranger squads. So at the start of turn 1, I was already on objectives. Now, the objectives we were playing were sticky, so I still had to be there at the end of my activation to flip them, but I was already on the board, starting to commit to a particular angle. So learning from game 1, realizing that the low order dice doesn't open you up all the options. I had to refuse a flank, which was fine. Refused the left flank with the infantry, and then pushed to the right flank, which gathered me up a handful of objectives. Another learning from game 1 is that at some point, 1 or 2 of the Shermans have to do a run order just to keep up with the Rangers because they are moving so fast.
Yeah.
And so that surprised Johnny quite early on when I opted not to fire them, and the Shermans ran. And it
all of them?
No, two ran. You can't run all 3. There's a balance that at times one Sherman has to cover the other 2, or at least be ready to activate to cover a threat.
Yeah.
So no, you can't run with all of them, but at times one would run, the other would cover, then the second one would run and the other would cover that, and they would sidestep each other up the board. And so that got me onto the board and started to push forward. And Johnny we know through reputation is that he understands what the game is about.
Yeah.
And he sees that I've only got 3 Ranger squads, a lieutenant team, and a bazooka team that can get these objectives. So he targets them.
Yeah.
And he just sustains fire over and over and over again on one Ranger unit to strip them down. And he does the same. He goes fully aggressive with his King Tiger and just throws it straight up the middle. He just bullies it straight up the middle. There's no trying to hide it. It is just going hell for leather. He gets one of the Waffen SS squads into a central ruin where one of the objectives is, and he has
veteran fanatics in hardcore.
In a ruin. Yeah. And he then brings his company commander up. So he controlled the center very quickly.
Yeah.
Whereas I was on a right flank, just trying to sort of curve round, and I was starting to push into his table half quite aggressively. He also then unsuccessfully tank shocked one of the Ranger squads, which again was something he was pushing to do. He was laying out pins, ignoring the Shermans, and he's trying to clean out the infantry squads. And then he pushes forward with a tank shock. That then opened the door, which you have to walk through, where I had to commit a Sherman straight forward to do a rear shot at the King Tiger.
Oh yeah,
bellissimo, prego. So got a Tiger 2 destroyed.
You killed it.
Yes, yep. Rear shot.
That's almost 500 points for that
it
one
was
shot.
It was a big kill, but he had done the damage in terms of troop killing. But I had also been doing the damage in terms of troop killing, which is where it came down to a battle in the middle. And once the King Tiger had died, everything around that center objective just seemed to melt away.
Yeah.
And the Ranger unit that failed to die to the tank shock was then in a position, I believe it rallied, and it shed like 5 pins or something insane. And then it was able to push towards the fanatics in the middle. And then the Sherman that had just killed the Tiger also pushed and just rammed straight into the ruin. It was dense terrain, it can do so. And then it cleared them out. And I did it in combination that I was able to clear out the infantry squad with the tank and some long-range fire. I was also then able to kill the company commander, and then the final activation was to move the infantry in. And because by that point there were no enemy units to contest it, I was able to
flip the objective.
I was able to flip the objective, but it was important to move the units in the correct order.
Yeah, it is
to do that. So it was another victory, and Johnny, I have to say, Johnny's heart left him, I think, when the Tiger died.
He was such a big part of his army. I mean,
he had a strong element of control to such a strong part, a large part of the board. But there was always that chance that he had overstretched the Tiger. And his artillery observer didn't yield anything in terms of raw kills other than pins. So no, it was a strong victory, and one I was really happy to get, and also to see the combination of the Sherman's survivability, their ability to kill, and also how they can work in tandem with each other if there's only two. One can run, one can cover. Again, just to keep up with the infantry. Rangers move fast, and the.
Do you feel like you were lucky that he didn't target your Shermans with his Panther?
If he'd done that, he would have not achieved anywhere near what he should have. It was killing the infantry. He had a 3-inch template on the tank. And I've only got 7-man, 3 7-man veteran squads, a bazooka team, and a lieutenant. And there were 6 objectives on the board. He absolutely had the right strategy to do it. But
which brings you to the top tables.
Yes, so this was round 3, and this was the top table. I am sure of it. And I got to play against Robbie Coates, who is I'm going to say, this will inflate his ego as it should, but he's a rising star within Scotland. He's playing some hard games and he's delivering some big results, but usually he's an Italian specialist. So
Right.
I've seen so much Italy coming out of him. It's unreal. So when he presented a British army to me, I was curious. But before we crunch this list, I will caveat it by saying this is absolute British meta of the time. And I was really happy to be playing this list and playing Raw because I knew it was going to be a test. A test of my
ability
adventure,
to handle that.
To handle the meta of Bolt Action version 3 as it stands at the moment. So
17 order dice.
17 order dice. You should do your analysis of the list.
Okay.
A bow analysis.
17 order dice. That is maybe one lower than I would expect, but it's definitely right where in the Goldilocks zone. We have an inexperienced commander all on his own, because why would you do anything else? We've got 2 backline holders, perfect size, minimum size, lots of output because they've got 2 machine guns. We've got submachine gun, MSU, 5-man units, veterans. One's got stubborn, one's got tough fighters. These can definitely go in some sort of transport, or they, could outflank. The artillery observer, because double tap, very, very good. White scout car to bring forth those submachine guns. You can transport 8 guys, so you can have one of the submachine guns plus the officer. Snap 2, double, move up, shoot the HMG, unload the SMGs into whatever you want to kill. And then Sherman medium tank Firefly with the super heavy AT gun in case you run into Ali Shermans. And then Crusader AA Mark II, twin autocannons. Awesome at killing anything that is below 9+. As Ali well knows, because he championed that first. And then a fully enclosed Humber armored car. I run 2 of these in all my British lists at the moment. An AA truck, which has a heavy autocannon. The heavy autocannon is also very nice because sometimes you need that extra punching power. The only thing that I disagree with is the Recce Jeep here. I don't like that right now just because it's very vulnerable. Heavy weapons platoon, light mortar, Piat, Jeep to bring up the Piat. That is it. Damn, that is a good list.
Yep.
Wow, it's on point meta.
Yep, it is. Reeks of meta, and
it does.
Piloted by Robbie. It's an excellent list. But the mission: seek and destroy, long table edges, fog of war.
Yeah.
So
shit.
Absolute carnage is about to ensue.
Yeah.
But to be fair, it was a jungle style table. I recall there was a road running the length of it from middle to middle, with a nice bridge, and there was a little river, and there was lots of dense terrain forest. It was all well marked out. A couple of buildings here and there, very nicely balanced table, so nothing that was too sinister. So I obviously decided, what did I deploy? I deployed 2 ranger squads, I deployed the lieutenant, and I deployed the medic. And used the trick for the infantry, and I held them behind dense terrain, so they were not exposed. And then Robbie decided to deploy a handful of units as well. One thing he deployed the white scout car, I'm sure, with infantry in it.
Yes.
And I just thought, I freaked out.
That needs to die. That needs to die ASAP.
It needed to go quick. I also thought that was an error on Robbie's part, just putting the eggs in that basket, especially when it was a kill points mission.
Yeah.
But what I have said on different channels and on your own channel is that I don't believe high order dice and the small units work. and this proved itself at turn 1. So turn 1 started, he deployed a handful of light mortars, he deployed at his backline holders, the double LMG units, etc., etc. With the Rangers lead the way, I was then able to we'll call it a redeploy move, but my infantry could then deploy again that 6 or 12 inches, so that on turn 1 I could instantly start opening fire on his light mortars, and just scoop them up. Turn 1, fire.
They both died?
Got one in turn 1, one in turn 2.
Yeah.
Just reaching out and taking them off the board with the 7-man infantry squad. So the 6 rifles, BAR, 10 shots.
Yeah.
And so already that's order dice coming to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then the chaos of Fog of War starts, and I am not going to be able to remember the order that things came in on, because there was just too much. But the battle coalesced into Robbie's right flank and his right quarter. Effectively, that's where the in and out started to happen, where units follow on units. But they're also mutually supporting one another.
Yeah.
And I think Robbie drew some of the first dice, and he was forced to commit units onto the board. He cleverly got infantry units out of the scout car, knowing that it was just not going to survive, and he started pushing infantry squads towards one of the ranger units that had deployed. He also peeled off the SAS Jeep and another one of the 5-man veteran squads to chase down the other infantry squad that I had deployed, whereas all his reserves and all my reserves started to come on in one corner, and they just started to mutually make those exchanges.
Each other. Yeah,
it was, and the autocannon truck, it's armor 6. It couldn't last. I was able to bring one of the Shermans on and scoop up his artillery observer, just because he's a single man.
Yeah.
He was in heavy cover, but I will just take you off the board.
Yeah.
And I was just slowly just bleeding away all these order dice, the Jeep with the Piat, and there was an officer in it.
Yeah.
They didn't all die together, but they died standing next to each other. They just got scooped up off the board. There was that,
and that is the problem when you have this meta list in especially in Fog of War, because you can't hide your vulnerable bits, right?
No, and once it's almost like once you've been attacked in Fog of War, you're committed to that area. Whereas I think if Robbie had bitten the bullet and maybe brought in one of the tanks or other infantry squads away from it, he could have gotten some more kills out of me. But there was a few elements of luck and unluck. I know that Robbie was unlucky. I'm sure he got a Piat hit.
Yeah.
And either didn't penetrate or didn't cause anything other than stunned. I know
that is unlucky, but
it was the Firefly got a point blank shot at one of the Shermans, and it was either a miss or a fail to penetrate. There was a 1 on one of the dice. But again, I also had that. There were moments where the Shermans, again, anything but a 1 didn't happen. The Crusader AA, I have championed it in the past, but it really struggled.
Yeah, because it can't deal with armor 9. You need it in the rear of that, and you need it point blank then.
Yeah. So it really struggled. So there came a point where Robbie did the maths, and he realized that he would have to wipe out my entire army to get a draw.
Ouch.
And he was also quite depressed that even if he killed the medic didn't count. It was not an order dice that could achieve. And so even when I looked at it, it's like, so I've only got 8 order dice that are worth points. And I can't remember what the actual dice count kill was in the end, but it just started to fray away. And that's the problem with the current meta lists, where you've got inexperienced light mortars, inexperienced, whether they're anti-tank rifles, inexperienced platoon commanders, they're just, scoop them all up, and then you can sit back and not do anything, or you can just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and then eventually all the bigger things disappear. So it was a victory. It was 3 victories for the high veterancy, low order dice.
So that wins you the tournament, doesn't it?
That did win the tournament, but the outcomes. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what victory looked like. So game 1, now this was where we were playing Demolition.
Yeah.
And it was victory, and I explained how that victory came about at turn 5. I killed 470 points of the enemy army, and I lost 0 tanks. What I should say is that 1 tank was set on fire at one point, or put it out, and 1 tank did get immobilized. So they did sustain damage, but when you think how many light autocannons they actually faced, the Panzerfausts, they got their shots off. And I had to sort of fight through that. And I hope I come over correctly that in game 1, I couldn't care about the result because it was Demolition.
Yeah.
I couldn't care. I couldn't invest in be happy or be disappointed, because at the end it was a lottery. I bought 2 tickets. Andrew had 1. I won. But I already knew at the end of that game, regardless of the result, that my army was going to work, because I looked over at the dice kills. I had 5 kills. Andrew had 0. He didn't kill a single unit from my army. Now, granted, the bazooka team was just 1 guy left. The lieutenant was by himself. One of the infantry squads was down to 2 men. Yes, I had taken damage, but nothing had died. Nothing had died.
Yeah.
So even taking away the victory, the win, the loss, the draw, whatever, the army worked. It did what it did, what I wanted it to do. Looking over into game 2, it was victory again, objective-based missions, and I killed 948 points. Everybody's going to say, yeah, the King Tiger was there, 100%. But infantry, but again, the other points, if you look at it as a percentage of 1250, that's
a lot.
That's a lot, and that's where inexperienced officers, inexperienced platoon commanders, soft skins, armored cars or vehicles, whatever it is, sniper teams, it's like scoop them up. Artillery observers, single men, scoop them up. They're all dice, they're all kills, and that's fine. Game 3, kill points, fog of war. Yes, it's chaos, but there are ways to be, broad stroke, skillful at chaos. And it's all about timing and use of cover, and pick your battlefield, pick your battleground. If your opponent wants to try and create a battle on an area you don't want to, just don't do it. Only one of my Shermans wasn't in cover when they first came on the board, and that is the one that died. And I purposefully brought him on the road. He had some good targets, and then the Crusader AA drove on straight after it and fired twin autocannons in the rear and failed. He had to wait the next turn so that it was a fire order to get the kill. Ouch. Which was lovely, because he killed the Sherman on the road, that blocked the road, and it also gave the opportunity for my bazooka team to walk up to the side and destroy it. So again, at that point for me, it was a 1-for-1 exchange. It's like, yep, you got a Sherman, but I got your Crusader, and the road's blocked. So you can't push further into the board with any of your fast-moving vehicles. And also the way the Sherman died, it blocked in his wheeled armoured car, which then died. So I lost a tank there. I think, sorry, I failed to mention in game 2, one of the Shermans did get immobilized again.
So there was tank damage, but not tank kills. Yep.
So of the nine Shermans that I used that day, only 1 died, 2 immobilized, and 1 went on fire.
So low.
Worth it.
Right.
Absolutely worth it. So I hope players listening to your channel and watching your videos take the opportunity to try it. I thought I might believe the comment that the Rangers made the list, veteran infantry will help the veteran tanks.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be Rangers, and
No.
it doesn't have to be American
It
tanks.
could have been anything else, right? As long
Yep.
as it was survivable and
Yep.
pretty tough.
Yeah. So I hope your listeners believe the whale of a tale, because some people might not believe that whale of a tale. It's a bit of a tall tale that
It is a bit of a tall tale, yeah.
9 order dice won the day.
Yeah.
But
Which
are
is madness. But and if we're looking at what else did well at Northern Lights.
Yes. So I sent Bo the army lists that finished second and third, just as bonus content for your audience, so they can see what else was in there. So if you should do the reviews. So I believe this is the second place list.
So this is a German list, 12 order dice, platoon commander inexperienced, Fallschirmjäger squad with 5 guys Panzerfaust, 5 guys Panzerfausts, Heer Grenadier, 5 rifles, so many Panzerfausts, 5 guys again Panzerfausts, and then the 250/1, 250/1, 2 of those. I would personally maybe have taken the /4s just because double machine guns, but armor platoon, Panzer 3, which is the Dagger Panzer. I don't think this actually works in a meta where we're going to see a lot of heavy tanks. The light AT gun I don't think is enough. Another Dagger Panzer, and another Dagger Panzer, and another Dagger Panzer. Oh my god. That is 5 Dagger Panzers.
Yeah, but we all know where 5 Dagger Panzers come from. It's a good factory.
Ali, you should be proud of this one.
Yeah, it's a really nice list. I liked it a lot. I was very happy to see the 5 Panzers. I walked past the display board that it was sitting on, and that particular list, there's been some concessions made to the time frame. So the dice order's been lowered by concentrating the veterancy of the infantry and the expenditure on Panzerfausts.
Yeah.
If I think if that list had met the Shermans, it would have been
an interesting matchup, though.
It would have been an interesting matchup. I'm not sure what way it would have fallen.
So many Fausts.
It would have depended on one of the 3 missions that we played. But
again,
though, it's worth knowing. Actually, that's the point. That was one of the points I could have raised. We didn't know we were going to do the bonus content. It was a bonus. This list, from memory, its entire kills, 306, was only about 800 or 900 points over the entire tournament.
Which is what you took in a single game.
Which is what I took in a single game.
Yeah.
And that was the big difference that's why I was never going to meet this list.
Yeah.
Because after the first game, the points differential was 1 step. And then after game 2, we were just miles apart. And at the end, when the points were tallied, I cleared second place on tiebreaker by a lot, by like a whole army.
And we also have third place here, which is a British platoon, 17 order dice.
Are you sure commander. This is third?
Yes, I don't know. Yeah.
It
is, right?
Yep.
So regular commander, 2 extra dudes, large units of infantry here, double machine gun on a smaller unit, double machine gun. So many backline holders in this list, right? Heavy weapons, machine gun teams, like them. I still like them. Heavy mortar, 1 spotter, only 1 spotter though. Oh well, okay.
I think this might have been pre-FAQ.
Yeah. 3 tank rifles, which is nice to have, and they can definitely outflank well. AA Crusader, Mark 6Cs, these are also good. Everything very meta. This is again a very, very meta British list.
Yeah, so 2 Crusader AAs, the 2 Vickers light tanks with light autocannons as well.
Yeah.
Good heavy weapons. So this list finished on 2 wins and a draw. I believe the draw was the Demolition mission from the start.
Yeah.
And it also dealt out some good damage as well. So yeah, it was a good, very on meta British list. Didn't have an artillery observer, did it?
No, it did not.
Didn't see one.
No.
Which is odd because you would think
Yeah.
75 points for the 2. It's still a
Most
good
people would
investment.
take one if they're going to be very meta right now.
Yeah. But this is very gunline.
Yeah.
You look at those infantry squads.
Yeah.
That's just a wall of lead that you would have to try and push through. But having played against a meta list at this event, I would have put money on my tank list against this any day.
Ha!
Absolutely.
And I, of course, would have done the opposite, which is
precisely. But all those regular light machine gun squads, they would have just got vacuumed up. You're facing off against light autocannons. I think that was the biggest punch that he had. So no, I'm sure the player that did play that 3rd place army will watch this video, and there'll be a showdown at some point in the future.
There may be. So where are you going to go from this? You've now proven that low order dice counts can work.
And they're fun. I have to say, they're high stress. I was really stressed all day, but they were a lot of fun. Where am I going to go next? I already know the answer to this, and we've recorded quite late after the event that's run, which means that the next event is like a week away for me.
Yep.
I am going to be a proponent of the all infantry army. All infantry. A couple of armored transports, just because nobody's going to get upset about transports.
Yeah.
But sorry, I just thought of one thing I didn't say. Sorry, guys. Wind the clock back. The Kratschützen squad. I really admired their fast moving ability.
Yes.
Their ability to dodge gunfire and to get on an objective that's left alone. Cavalry. Yeah. I believe if you can get 1 unit of cavalry in your army, doesn't matter if it's inexperienced, do it. And that's what Kratschützen did. That's what Andrew Douglas Moore had that really was a quick learning point for me. Okay,
I completely agree. Like me and Ali, we disagree on so much of this, but
so much.
Cavalry, damn, they're good.
I think cavalry are the way. Right. Anyway, take that cavalry, put them in the box. Yep. I'm going all infantry. So the next tournament for me is an event called the Guns of Broomloan, and that's been held in Glasgow. The event pack is 1,500 points. Maximum order dice is 15. And it's well received in Scotland. I think there are 32 players that are bought tickets and going.
Wow.
And so everybody instantly thinks that's going to be veteran tanks, that's going to be lots of armor, and it is. And some of the statistics have been compiled by the event organizer, and there are 31 players that have got tank platoons, and there is 1 player that doesn't have a tank platoon. This guy. So, listen, we'll be back for a Whale of a Tale 2.
Be back, yeah.
Whale of a Tale 2. So, what am I trying to prove? What am I trying to prove?
I don't know. That you can go anti-meta and do well, I guess.
Yep, but it just...
Or that you can evolve the meta as you go.
Yeah, or I just like the challenge. I like the idea of walking the path less trodden with all infantry. I mean, don't get me wrong.
I'll join you with that one. With that one. I am also playing in the tournament next weekend, and I am also going all infantry.
Good. Let's rendezvous in the future.
Let's
for a Whale of a Tale Mark II.
Right. Congratulations on that win. It's an amazing story to tell, and god damn it, must your tanks have looked beautiful on the table. 3 Shermans. I mean,
yeah, they were awfully proud. I'll try and send you a picture.
Good. Thank you all for tuning in this evening. And yeah, me and Ali will be back with more tales of glories. Cheers.
Goodbye.